I had always been of the notion that all violent crimes are hate crimes. I've never known a crime to be committed violently that was done out of pleasure.
People need to understand, first of all, that nobody advocates violence against anyone for any reason, and that is criminal, and it's already a crime to assault somebody, and it should remain a crime, and nobody advocates that. But what we have with hate crimes legislation, unfortunately, is it creates a two-tier justice system where we have a special class of victim that is elevated to a higher level of importance over just the common individual. And that, on its face, is a violation of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which guarantees equal protection under the laws. Well, if it is a more serious crime to assault somebody because they self-identify as a homosexual than it is to assault a pregnant woman or a little old lady, well, then that discriminates against the pregnant woman or the little old lady. That lifts up the homosexual individual as a more relevant and more important victim and makes that crime a more serious crime. Well, that's constitutionally dubious, to say the least.
So when we pass these hate crimes legislations or non-discrimination ordinances that are out there, we then are creating effectively a brigade of thought police. Almost this Orwellian notion that we have the government body that is overlooking all of our thoughts and determining whether or not this is a racially motivated or a sexually orientated motivated crime. That's something that we shouldn't be doing. Our justice system is set up to judge action. And when we allow this thought police to enter the occasion, we create up a whole new class of victims and ones that we shouldn't be doing. All victims deserve equal justice, regardless of the motivation of the crime.
Canadian youth pastor Stephen Busan worked with kids from all walks of life. He was a father figure to them, the cool kids, the loners, the straight kids, and those struggling with sexual identity. He ministered to them all. But when he felt the homosexual machine was pushing its agenda to the detriment of those kids, he put his feelings into words and sent a letter to the editor of his local paper, the Red Deer Advocate. The fallout from that simple act gives us a disturbing look into the chilling effect of hate crimes legislation.
I already was writing letters to the editor occasionally, just like anybody else can in the community. But through this youth program, I started to become more aware of how the teens were being, intentionally or unintentionally, my belief, brainwashed or lured into, manipulated into believing that homosexuality was normal, necessary, acceptable, and productive. And that was actually, word for word, the initiative of a government-funded agenda, program that was being introduced into public schools. On top of that, I found out that a teacher, public school teacher, who started a pro-gay tolerant group within a Red Deer High School, was inviting a gay minister to teach youth the pro-gay version of the Bible. So enough was enough for me. It was one thing, you know, I absolutely believe in tolerance. I believe that someone has a right to claim that they're homosexual in a democratic society, and I believe that if that's what they want, you know, though I disagree with that lifestyle, I believe that it's detrimental to, holistically, to a person's well-being. I believe that if that's the way they want to live their lives, they should have that right to do so. God gives them that right to do so. Where the boundaries were overstepped was when my tax dollars, and it's not about money, was when my tax dollars were being used to fund an initiative that was absolutely against my values as a human being, my values as a Christian. And so I wrote a letter to the editor that was written to be hard-hitting. It was written strong. It wasn't designed to be a fluffy, we're going to meet you halfway. It was designed to say to heterosexuals, to mainly Christian heterosexuals, wake up. Look what's coming in the back door in our country.
The letter was printed in the paper on June 17, 2002. It began with this paragraph. The following is not intended for those who are suffering from an unwanted sexual identity crisis. For you, I have understanding, care, compassion, and tolerance. I sympathize with you and offer you my love and my fellowship. The letter goes on to say, your children are being warped into believing that same-sex families are acceptable, that men kissing men is appropriate. And the homosexual agenda is not gaining ground because it is morally backed. It is gaining ground because you, Mr. and Mrs. Heterosexual, do nothing to stop it. The fallout from the publication of the letter was swift and severe.
Our Supreme Court upheld the Canadian Criminal Code prohibitions on hate speech. What that means is that there is not the same level of protection for freedom of speech in Canada as there is in the United States. And because of that, the Canadian Parliament recently amended the Criminal Code to add sexual orientation to the list of grounds upon which one cannot speak in what is termed a hateful way. If you do, you are subject to prosecution by the Attorney General.
Red Deer teacher Darren Lund filed a complaint with the Alberta Human Rights Commission. 5 years and tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees later, Stephen Busan was found guilty. His reputation has been sullied, and his financial stability has been undermined as a result of this infringement of his basic rights, made possible by hate crimes laws.
The problem with the use of human rights laws to try to enforce a politically correct view of the world is that anyone that disagrees with someone on a political subject will immediately complain about them to a Human Rights Commission in order to silence the debate.
And when the battle gets really thick and it drags on for years, and even some Christians are questioning you start to question yourself, you start to get angry with God, and things aren't going your way, and then you're found guilty. My goodness, poor me. But the reality is the self-assessment that I've done through that, and the having to truly depend on God, not what God can do for me financially, or not what God can, is He going to win for me? Just depend on Him, and having to sit back as a Christian and say, God, regardless of whether I'm found guilty, regardless of whether people like me, I'm going to hold true to your word. Regardless of the mistakes I make, my ups and downs in life, I am going to continue to hold true to your word and stand strong. And that's what I'm going to continue to do.
What happened to Stephen Busan may be shocking, but closer to home, a group of Christians found that the very act of sharing a biblical message in public can get you arrested and prosecuted in the United States. This is the case where two 75-year-old grandmothers face the very real possibility of spending the rest of their lives in prison. And a young man was vilified by the media for his message of hope to those caught in the grip of homosexuality. They are part of a group better known as the Philadelphia 11. That and more when we come back.
Family values, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and morality are all threatened by a radical homosexual activist agenda that's redefining the family, demanding same-sex marriage, teaching children that homosexuality is normal, homosexuals serving in the armed forces, hate crime laws threatening freedom of speech, laws forcing churches and Christian businesses to hire homosexuals, minority status, and preferential treatment for homosexuals. If you think that agenda is bad for America, you must do something. Call today or go online to participate in the American Family Association's Family Values Survey. We'll send the results to leaders in the media, the entertainment industry, large corporations, and elected officials who support the homosexual activist agenda because they think you don't care. Let them know you do. You can make a difference. Go online at silencingchristians.com to request your copy of the Family Values Survey, or call 800-767-7440, or write to American Family Association, P.O. Drawer 2440, Tupelo, Mississippi 38803. Along with the survey, we'll also send you the book, Homosexuality, Exposing the Myths. Get informed. Be heard. Don't be speechless.